Thank you, Jim. I am really touched by that, the idea that an award will be given in my name to international journalists. You'll understand why a little better when you hear what I have to say. It's late, but we're all journalists, so I want everybody to have another glass of wine and lean back, and I promise we'll get you home tomorrow morning. My thanks to everybody involved with ICFJ for this evening, to Christiane Amanpour, who couldn't be here because of the illness of her mother. There are many bad trends in the news business, but one of the good things that's happened recently is that a courageous, world-class journalist like Christiane is hosting ABC's this week. Her visibility, a real journalist in a field increasingly dominated by ex-political figures, is an affirmation of who we are and what we do. I want to thank another first-rate ABC journalist, John Carl, whose work I know close hand from our travels together, for stepping in for Christiane. And I also want to thank the world's greatest auctioneer, Leon Harris. Who knew? But somehow, Leon, I have a feeling that's not the last time you're going to be asked to run an auction. The phrase lifetime achievement is deeply gratifying, but it also has a slightly worrying pre-obituary tone. Several weeks ago, I received a handwritten note from a man in his 90s whom I'd never met, who said he wanted to send me some preparatory material for his obituary. I wasn't sure how to answer, so I didn't. And then I got another letter from him that said, "Don't worry, I've found someone else at the Post who can take care of it." So in that forthright spirit, let me begin by telling you a few things about my career that aren't in the lifetime achievement bio and won't be in the obit. First, I was turned down by every single newspaper that I applied to when I entered the job market in 1975. The closest I got to a job offer was the Louisville Courier-Journal, which invited me to come for an interview and meet their star reporter, one Howard Feynman. Everything was going great until they said it was time for the spelling and grammar test. When I finished, the managing editor invited me into his office and with a long face said he wondered if I would really be happy in Louisville. My mother, who is in the audience, knows how happy I am to have survived in the news business long enough for the advent of spell checker. I ended up taking my first job at the Washington Monthly with the lovable but financially challenged guru Charlie Peters. My salary was $8,500 annually, which somehow in those days allowed you to rent an apartment in DuPont Circle. It gradually became clear that I wasn't ready to be a pundit at 26, and am still not ready, a lot of people would say. So I left after a year in 1976 to work for the Wall Street Journal in Pittsburgh. My new job at the Journal paid $17,500, which more than doubled what I'd been making at the Monthly. My first position at the Journal was covering the United Steelworkers Union, an obvious assignment for someone who had graduated from St. Albans, Harvard, and Cambridge and exuded the common touch. I bought myself a leisure suit with leather trim on the pockets. Eve asked me when I went over this with her, did it really have leather trim? One of my sources at a steelworkers convention in Las Vegas told me that I was, I quote, the best-dressed guy I've ever seen. My wife, Eve, who's also here tonight, can attest to the unlikely but true fact that on our first date 33 years ago, I took her to a professional wrestling match in Wheeling, West Virginia, where another of my steelworker sources the president of the Jones and Laughlin local in Pittsburgh, was moonlighting. After I'd been working at the Journal for a year or so, we had a visit from one of the grandees of Dow Jones, a man named Ed Coney. As was the style of the Journal in those days, we went out to a local restaurant and got completely plastered. As the evening progressed, I asked Coney, "When you pay us these cheap salaries, Ed, do you just assume we'll quit and get another job?" To which Coney unforgettably replied, "Why don't you quit right now, you little shit?" So you can get away with saying that. But I didn't quit. I stayed at the Journal for 10 years, covering, as was said earlier, the Justice Department, the CIA, the Senate, then the Middle East, then the State Department, resisting along the way a string of job offers from the Washington Post. During one of my hiring flirtations with the Post, Ben Bradley said to me, "Ignatius, I've done more to raise your salary than you have." I finally did join the Post in 1986 as editor of the Outlook section. At my final interview, Bradley listened to my pitch about all the big issues of the day, and as I remember, asked only one question: "Do you read the sports page?" He looked relieved but dubious when I said yes. So that began what has been a fabulous 25 years at the Post, mostly as an editor, but for the last decade as a columnist. It's been the great fortune of my life to work for the Graham family, Catherine and Don Graham and Catherine Weymouth, and to be part of an organization that still, every day, proudly earns the words you can see on the masthead, an independent newspaper. So that's my lifetime. For years, I used to ask myself, I wonder if it's too late to go to law school. But now it is too late. Thank you. And I'm glad of that. There's nothing else I'd rather do or, frankly, would be any good at.